Oreilly.com premium members, welcome to the No Spin News, Thursday, April 18th, 2019, and we're going to extend this all throughout Easter weekend. Take your country back. So the Mueller report, it's out. I have read some of it. Not all of it, but some of it. And I am qualified to tell you the truth about it. That's what you need to know. The pro-Trump forces in the media are going to exonerate the president across the board. And let's move on. That's what they're going to say. The anti-Trump forces, the hate Trumpers, which outnumber the pro-Trumpers about 8-1, are going to say, oh, no, he did this, he did that. They're going to convict the president of everything. So here's the truth. President Trump did one thing that is questionable, that could have gotten him into a lot of trouble. He might have done some little stuff, but one thing jumps out from that report. And that is that in June, 1 month after Robert Mueller was appointed, President Trump had discussions with his White House counsel, a man named Don McGahn, about firing Mueller. Though those took place, the president was angry, number one, that this special counsel had been appointed in the first place, furious that the Attorney General Jeff Sessions had recused himself from the entire thing, and believed that Robert Mueller was compromised. He had a conflict of interest. Now, that could be for a number of reasons, but I know personally that Donald Trump felt that Mueller didn't like him, was out to get him. Now, that's what drove this. So in the White House, on a number of occasions, the president and Don McGahn, his counsel, not private counsel, all right, his White House counsel, would have been different if it was his private lawyer, had conversations about firing Mueller. McGahn did not want to do it and said, if you order me to do it, I'm going to quit. I'm not going to do it, like Nixon. He had a whole bunch of guys quit. So I'm not going to do it. It's the wrong thing to do. Don't order me to do it, Mr. President. And Trump acceded to Counselor McGahn's wishes. He did not order him to do it. And McGahn did not resign. Now, Mueller brought in McGahn. McGahn told him just what I told you. Just what I told you. This was one of the 10 instances that Mueller investigated for obstruction of justice. Everybody got that? Mueller, of course, in his report, clearly said, I don't have enough information, I don't have enough evidence, I don't have enough anything to bring obstruction of justice charges. He cleared, as you know, Mueller, President Trump, of any collusion with Russia. That didn't happen. And I don't think that's debatable. But obstruction, Mueller said, I just don't have the evidence because the president didn't fire McGahn, didn't order him to do it. They just discussed it. Now, the truth is that Donald Trump was angry about Robert Mueller, didn't trust him, wanted him gone, or controlled, or whatever. That's the truth. But in the end, people said to him, you can't get rid of him. You got to play it out. And that's what he did. So there isn't any obstruction of justice. It would be like you want to rob a bank, and you bring in Lenny. And Lenny comes in, and you discuss robbing a bank with Lenny. And then all of a sudden, you're converted. You go, robbing a bank, that's not right. I'm not going to do that. And you don't do it. Well, you can't be charged with robbing a bank or conspiracy to rob a bank because you didn't do it. Okay. Now, you'll never get that kind of analysis from the mainstream media. It's not happening. So let's then go back to the Barr press conference. So the Attorney General, I thought, was pretty good in his clarity factor. He laid out no collusion, obstruction of justice, because it was up to Barr. Mueller dumped him. Mueller's like Pontius Pilate. We have a Holy Week analogy here. Washed his hands of the obstruction of justice. Said, hey, here's what we found out. If you want to charge him, Mr. Attorney General, you can do it. But we're not going to recommend that. Us, the special counsel's office, we're not recommending that. So, of course, Barr, who's sympathetic to Donald Trump, and there's no doubt he is, he's sympathetic to him. He said, I'm not going to do it. I mean, you don't think there's enough evidence. Why would I? Now, how do I know that Barr is sympathetic to Donald Trump? I'm going to play you two sound bites, all right? And then we'll discuss the Barr sound bite. We'll do one by one. So roll the first Barr sound bite.
After nearly 2 years of investigation, thousands of subpoenas, hundreds of warrants, and witness interviews, the special counsel confirmed that the Russian government sponsored efforts to illegally interfere with the 2016 presidential election, but did not find that the Trump campaign or other Americans colluded in those efforts.
Very simple statement, very straightforward, no nuance. That's it. Good night. Goodbye, farewell. Okay? Very good that the Attorney General was that clear and spoke in a way that everybody could understand. Second soundbite. Roll.
President Trump faced an unprecedented situation. As he entered into office and sought to perform his responsibilities as president, federal agents and prosecutors were scrutinizing his conduct before and after taking office, and the conduct of some of his associates. At the same time, there was relentless speculation in the news media about the president's personal culpability. Yet, as he said from the beginning, there was in fact no collusion.
Okay, so that's a sympathetic soundbite toward President Trump from his Attorney General, because he was getting pounded. He was getting all over the place. So, yeah, maybe he overreacted. This is, I'm reading between the lines, and had some conversations that if he had carried them out, there would have been, he would have been impeached. But he didn't do it. But you can understand what kind of pressure he was under. That's Attorney General Barr, and that's a sympathetic point of view. But it's a true point of view, isn't it? Isn't it? I mean, if you're a president, you just win the most stunning upset in perhaps U.S. history. And you walk in and then all of a sudden the news media 24/7 is saying, oh, you didn't win. Oh, Putin helped you. Oh, you're a crook. Yeah, you're going to be a little distressed. You may overreact. I'm not making excuses for the president. I'm just telling you that's what Attorney General Barr wanted you, the American people, to know. That there were extenuating circumstances. Wasn't a calculation. I'm President Trump, I'm going to violate the law. Okay. So, all of that was rejected 100% by the hate Trump forces, by the Democratic Party, and by the media. So, Schumer and Pelosi put out a statement, and I'll read you the statement. Today, here's the statement. Quote, the differences are stark between what Attorney General Barr said on obstruction and what Special Counsel Mueller said on obstruction. As we continue to review the report, one thing is clear. Attorney General Barr presented a conclusion that the president did not obstruct justice, while Mueller's report appears to undercut that finding. That's not true. That's not true. So Pelosi and Schumer, shame on you, misleading the American public. If Mueller believed there was obstruction of justice, he certainly would have recommended criminal charges. Now, President Trump at the White House today, this is, you've got to understand from his point of view, he's free and clear. All right? He didn't do anything. He's free and clear. And now he's going to use this weapon against his detractors. Here's what he said. Go.
Having a good day. I'm having a good day, too. It was called no collusion, no obstruction. There never was, by the way, and there never will be. And we do have to get to the bottom of these things, I will say. And this should never happen to another president again. This hoax. This should never happen to another president again.
Now, getting to the bottom of these things, I will say, is a warning that the FBI is in major trouble. And I can tell you, my sources have been pretty good. I have not been wrong on one thing in 2 years on this whole Mueller investigation. They're going to drop some heavy-duty charges on the FBI, not only for the Russian collusion investigation, but for Hillary Clinton's emails. And that's going to be quite something. That was a setup there. Okay. Now, as soon as Attorney General Barr held his press conference, CNN went on the air with 8 people on a panel. All 8 despised Donald Trump. All 8 of them. Not one, if you can believe this, would give him a break. When I say despise, I mean they want him out of office, and they will not give President Trump the presumption of innocence. Remember that. When Mueller investigates anything, it's the presumption of innocence that he has to start with. So the most misleading headline was that Mueller found 10 instances of obstruction. That's not what the report said. It said he investigated 10 instances of alleged obstruction, and obviously came to the conclusion he didn't have enough evidence to bring any of them into the criminal arena. But the news headline was there were 10 instances of obstruction that Mueller cited. That's a lie, and that's how you are being misled. All right, I'm going to play these sound bites just so in case you missed them about the press right after Barr. Go.
The rhetoric here was extraordinary. It sounded like a spokesman, not an attorney general. And the word collusion, a lawyer doesn't use that term because there is no crime of collusion. Only Trump uses that term, and so you have the attorney general parroting that. But to me, there was one bigger thing that I saw, which was what Barr didn't tell us. We know there's one sentence in the Mueller report which says, this does not exonerate Trump. Did we hear a word of that in Barr's, 10-minute summary? There's nothing I heard about that.
This was the Attorney General seeming to defend how the president was feeling going into this, talking about
54,000 seconds. It makes me feel better at times. But the first conversation I had was actually on Thursday, July 20th, in the study off of the Oval Office with the president and Ivanka, where they were frustrated that there was a special counsel. They were kind of getting me a prize of that situation, but they were also super frustrated that there was a tremendous amount of leaking going on inside the White House. And so the president, I had worked with him, and you may recall this, for 9 months on the campaign, 12 weeks as one of the executives on his transition committee, and obviously the 11 days in the White House. And so I knew that there was no collusion. I said that on the air. I asked CNN to replay the clip of me saying there was no collusion if I was proven to be correct. I'm still waiting for my guest appearance to show up there. But at that moment, there was a tremendous amount of tension, and there was a feeling inside the White House that a mistake was made by firing James Comey. I think the president now looks back on that and said that he made the right decision to fire Director Comey, but I think thinking, okay, that was the domino that tripped into the other domino. One other piece of information for your viewers and listeners, I have a very close relationship with Rod Rosenstein. I went to law school with Rod Rosenstein, and since he's letter R and I'm letter S, we sat together in the same section, in the same row, and I had a very good relationship with him. And I told the president that Rod is a straight-shooting Boy Scout. The president about 18 months to come to that conclusion because of all of the stuff going on in the media and people talking and so forth. But Rod played this thing very straight. I saw Rod at my 30th law school reunion 2 weeks ago, and I think I'm very proud of him, and I'm also proud of William Barr. And I would tell anybody, these are rule of law types of people, Bill. They're not going to carry the president's water. So you can have 8 people at the CNN, Last Supper event of anti-Trumpers all sitting there, hating on Trump and wanting to diss Barr, William Barr. But at the end of the day, he's a rule of law kind of guy, 45 years in Washington. He's not going to give up his reputation to carry the president's water.
No, and he makes sense. What he said did not contradict the Mueller report from what I've seen. Now, I mentioned that you, in your reunion, were up there with all the pinheads at Harvard. I can't mock you because, not unfortunately, I did. But you and it was Rosenstein then, it's Rosenstein now. It's kind of like young Frankenstein. But I never had a problem with Rosenstein ever. Not because you were sticking up for him, but because I thought the way that you did. So Rosenstein is in a kill zone here, okay? Because if he does anything untoward, it's going to come out. And just just like the FBI, Comey and McCabe, those guys are in serious trouble now. And my words were borne out. They are in serious trouble when this Michael Horowitz report, the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, comes out. Maybe they won't get charged. Could be this. Maybe it didn't rise enough, but they're in trouble. So Trump and he's crazed about Mueller. He fires Comey. Rosenstein backs him on that play, as you know. Rosenstein wrote a letter criticizing Comey. Backs him on the play. But from what I saw in the Mueller report, the Comey thing was secondary to the McGahn thing. And so my next question is, did you know Don McCann? Did you see that there was tension between him and President Trump about Mueller?
Yeah, well, I knew Don McCann on the campaign, and I'd gotten to know him a little bit in the White House, but I also respected him. And I think Don's legacy is going to be a couple of things. One, he helped the president get all those judges appointed, including the 2 Supreme Court guys. And number 2, I think Don McCann gave the president very good advice. He said, let this thing play out. And of course, the president was concerned because he's a business person. Remember, that was only 6 months into his presidency, and he's seen what goes on in Washington, and so he's a little worried that they were going to politically manipulate the situation. And so I applaud Don McCann. I don't know him super well, Bill, so I'm not going to make things up, but I applaud him in this instance where he told the president, and he gave him very, very good advice, and thankfully the president stuck to that advice.
Yeah, he took it, because if he didn't take it, he would be impeached right now.
He'd be in trouble.
But I want to advance the story a little bit. Okay, so you have a president who doesn't like to be criticized at all, ever. And when he is criticized, and when you read my book, The United States of Trump, you'll see this goes back to when he's 3 years old. Okay? He lashes out. And sometimes that clouds his thinking. All right? So Donald Trump's thinking is clouded sometimes when he's lashing out at people who have insulted him or done something that he feels is wrong. How much, in your opinion, as the former communications director, did the relentless, and that is Barr's word, relentless, all right, negative reporting by the media on President Trump, how much did that affect Donald Trump?
Look, it absolutely affected him, and it spurred all of that righteous indignation, which his detractors are now trying to call obstruction. And I think what I was going to say, and I think I want you to think about this, Bill, Mueller is a lot like Justice Roberts. And let me explain why. Justice Roberts looked at the Obamacare situation, said Obama got elected, he pushed this legislation, and we're going to treat it as a tax, and we're going to let it stick. And I think Robert Mueller treated the president with great respect and the office of the presidency. And so he gave the president the benefit of the doubt. If you read the written stuff, the commentary on the president's written questions that he submitted back to Mueller, they thought they were insubstantial. Mueller gave him the benefit of the doubt. Mueller gave him the benefit of the doubt when he said, here are 10 times where you came across the line or were at the line of obstruction, but there was really no crime here, and we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt because of all the pressure on you.
It's almost like Hillary Clinton. It's almost the same thing. That they came out and they said, yeah, she did it, but it doesn't rise. But you know why? Do you know why Mueller didn't make a bigger deal out of Trump not showing up for a personal interview? There's 2 reasons why. Number 1, he had McGahn already. Yes. And he believed McGahn. And that's what he wanted from Trump. He had it. He knew what happened. And number 2, the perjury trap. No president would ever put himself in that position where he had a faulty memory, or he didn't do this, or he didn't do that. No chief executive would ever do it. And Mueller knew that. Mueller knew that he was on the wrong side of that argument, and that he would probably lose if it were litigated. So anyway, I just want to bring that out. Final question for you.
Yes, sir.
Going forward, my belief is the American people have had it with this. They've had enough. Tonight will be big ratings for the news agencies, but tomorrow's Good Friday, Passover, Easter, and next week, the far left media will try to keep it alive. Nadler and his crew in the House will try to keep it alive, but I think the folks have said enough. You agree with that?
Oh, I billion percent agree with it. That's what caused the rating slide for people after the 4-page document came out. Now that this has been more full blown, they can rail all they want and complain all they want. But I think the Democrats are going to switch strategy, and I think they're going to take Nancy Pelosi's strategy, which is okay. There was no grounds for impeachment. Let's play on the facts here. Let's try to beat him in the ballot, in the election in 2020. But Bill, one other quick point. I think it's very important for your listeners. At the end of the day, the president's legal team, someone's going to write this 50 years from now, gave him very good advice and kept guardrails on him despite that righteous accusation, despite that criticism reversal that he likes to give people, as you're describing in your book. And I think that legal team, there's going to be a case study somewhere at a law school that describes what that legal team did and how critical people were of that legal team while it was happening. But in the end of the day, the final analysis, they did a very good job for the president.
All right, you're killing me with the end of the day business, Anthony. You got to get that out of your repertoire. But are you including Rudy Giuliani in that?
I am. I'm going to explain to you why. I have a theory on that. The president saw Mayor Giuliani as a heat shield. Anytime Giuliani was out there saying cuckoo-la-la things or diversionary things, he was taking pressure off the president, and the media attention was on Rudy and some of the erraticisms of what he was saying. Now, a lot of people say, well, that wasn't planned, and that was all impromptu and possible Tourette's syndrome. I don't believe that. I think a lot of that stuff was premeditated, Bill, and I think the president knows that, and that's why the president let him go with that. And I think you'll see that was part of the strategy.
All right, Anthony. Always interesting. Anthony and I live nearby on Long Island, and the town doesn't know what to do with us.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. I hope you become a regular on BillO'Reilly.com, and your insight is very... All right. Happy Easter.
I'm a huge fan.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Anthony. Thank you. You almost have to be, because I can go over your house, too. All right, Holy Week. We now know that U.S. church membership is down big in the last few decades, according to Gallup.